They say one of the rarest sounds in all of nature is the sound of a progressive Western feminist unequivocally condemning Islamic misogyny. I heard a rumour that somebody heard it once, but that it was quickly drowned out by a shrill chorus of Islamophobe and racist and was never heard again. Although I'm an atheist, I'm often tempted to become religious, just so that I can ask God to keep a special place in hell for progressive feminists who excuse or ignore Islamic misogyny for cultural reasons. Women who are quick to condemn inappropriate language on Twitter and who are all intellectual tooth and claw when it comes to Christianity, but who at the first sight of a crescent moon seem to magically evaporate like fairies in the mist. I'm talking about you. You women who confidently challenge everyday sexism, but who are struck deaf and dumb in the presence of Islamic misogyny, don't seem to realise that this is itself misogynistic and is literally giving feminism a bad name. If you want to be culturally sensitive towards, I'll say it again, Islamic misogyny, you can't be a feminist. It's impossible. Besides, if you are, you'll automatically be a racist, because in your twisted progressive terms, when it comes to Islam, feminism equals racism, as does anything that challenges Islamic supremacy. And we all know that the word racist is like kryptonite to you progressives. Within your bubble of delusion, it's been magnified so that it looms over everything you think and say, and you'd rather be tasered than have it anywhere near you, so when you see it coming, you run the other way, trampling women and children if necessary. Turn a blind eye to religiously endorsed wife-beating, forced marriage, honour killing, genital mutilation, organised rape gangs, Sharia courts that treat women as less than fully human, and little girls forced to dress like nuns. Turn a blind eye to Islamic misogyny, or you'll be a racist. You racist. Any Western woman thinking of visiting an Arab country right now, especially Dubai, should think about visiting a psychiatrist first. Recently, a Norwegian woman made the mistake of telling the police in Dubai that she'd been raped. And because she didn't have 4 male witnesses, she was charged with adultery and given a longer sentence than the rapist. These cases are common in backward moral cesspits like Dubai, where Islamic values apply and therefore adultery is a more serious crime than rape, even when you haven't done it and the rapist has. This kind of backward, ugly attitude towards women prevails throughout much of the Islamic world, and it's being deliberately imported wholesale into Western society, unchallenged and uncorrected, thanks to the insane progressive view that all cultures are equal, except of course for Western culture, which is inferior. And this is making life more dangerous for women. Norway and Sweden used to be among the safest countries for women. Now they're best known for their high levels of Islamic immigrant rape, that nobody in power wants to acknowledge or do anything about, because that would be racist. Consequently, Norwegian and Swedish women are no longer safe in their own countries for cultural reasons. Indeed, Sweden has been so enriched by Islamic immigration that its women statistically have a 25% chance of being raped in their lifetime. But at least they're not racists, and that's the main thing. Meanwhile, here in England, another day, another Pakistani Muslim rape gang. Nobody can agree on what the root cause might be, but the progressive consensus is that it can't have anything to do with the misogynistic religion these men all share, and that it must be society's fault in some way. And to be fair, it is largely our fault. We've imported millions of people from Pakistan, one of the most backward Islamic countries on earth, and that's saying something. Often from the most backward tribal areas where women suffer appalling treatment, where they're regularly beaten at home, where child marriage and so-called honour killing is rife, and where a rape victim is liable to be raped again at the police station if she reports it. That's if she hasn't already been murdered by her own family. When we import that culture into our society, critically, unfiltered, with no requirement to integrate, what do we expect to happen? And who can be surprised when it does? We even officially sanction Islamic misogyny now in Britain. We've made it respectable. We have dozens of Sharia courts that are allowed to discriminate against women purely for being women. If anyone dared to treat a person that way based on race rather than gender, there would rightly be public uproar. So where are all the feminists with their protests and demonstrations? The fact is, women's rights are less important, aren't they? And are in fact negotiable when it comes to appeasing a religion invented by men for the benefit of men that punishes women for being raped by men. The principle has now been established in Britain that we are not, in fact, all equal. Some people are inferior for cultural reasons, and they are all female. So forgive me for being blunt about this, girls, but there are more important things to get angry about than offensive language on Twitter or sexist comments about your appearance. But then I would say that because, unlike you, I believe the liberation of women from Islam is as urgent a political cause for all humanity as was the abolition of slavery. There's no room for politeness or sensitivity, and there's no reason for any. Treatment of women, its entire view of women, is a sin. And if there is a God, that's what he'll be punishing, if he punishes anything at all. It's not culturally different. It's culturally inferior. It's an ugly echo of the Dark Ages. And for the life of me, I can't understand why every woman on earth doesn't oppose it with all her heart and soul. But as we all know, many of them don't, especially the ones who ought to know better. Instead, they excuse it, they indulge it, and they condone it at other people's expense because their stupid progressive politics have got the better of their common sense. If you legitimize it and you invite it into your own life and into the lives of your children because it's coming your way. You also help to ensure that the woman in Pakistan or Saudi Arabia who gets beaten every day will continue to be beaten and treated as a piece of property, as will her daughters and granddaughters all the way down the line. Why should these places change their ways when we in the West make it perfectly clear that we're okay with their vile misogyny for cultural reasons? It's lucky that you progressive feminists are ideologically sound enough to ignore the reality of those cultural reasons, or you might not be able to sleep at night.